So our next topic is the different types of reflexes and how does the entire reflex arc happens in humans. So what are reflexes? Reflexes are some involuntary actions which happen in our body without our involvement. So we are going to learn about it in detail. So generally there are two types of actions. One is called voluntary action and the other is called involuntary action. So voluntary actions are the actions or the activities which we do at our own free will. Like we take out our book, we study, we do it knowingly, right? We want to do it, that's why we are doing it. Or like we walk or we watch a movie. So these type of actions are voluntary actions which are done with our own understanding. But there are also some activities which are known as involuntary actions which even if we don't want, it will happen. For example, as soon as we chew our food and it enters into our esophagus, even if we don't want, it will still go into the stomach. Similarly, our beating heart, even if we don't want, it will still keep beating. For example, digestion happening in our stomach and the other organs, that is also happening involuntarily. Even if we don't want it, it will still keep happening. So these type of activities are known as involuntary actions. So there are certain actions, for example, if something falls into our eyes, tears start coming out and the object which has entered into our eyes will come out of it automatically. We don't even have to do it. Also, if we touch something hot, even if we don't want, still we will remove our hand. This is very instantaneous, it will happen. Also, if it is very cold outside, even if you don't want, you will start shivering. So these type of activities which happen in response to some external environment, these are known as responses. You have studied, and this entire activity is done by the reflex action. So we are going to learn about it. So there are two types of reflexes. One is called the natural reflex or the inborn reflex, which is there in our body since birth, and the other is the conditioned reflex or the acquired reflex, which is developed in our body over a period of time. So natural reflexes are the ones which do not require any previous learning or experience. It is there in our body since the time we are born. For example, blinking, coughing, sneezing, all this, then salivation, swallowing something, all this. But conditioned reflexes are the one which we acquire over the period of time. For example, we stand up when the teacher enters in the classroom. This is one example. Even without seeing, we can tie our shoelaces. People who know typing, they can type without looking at the keyboard. Or when a person who is a rider, whenever they are taking a turn, they will give a hand signal to the vehicle which is behind them. So these things are learned over a period of time. So these are conditioned or acquired reflexes. But what are natural reflexes? Here are some examples. As soon as we touch something hot or something which is pointy, we remove our hand. Nobody has to tell us, we just do it as a response. Also, suddenly if something is coming towards us, towards our eyes, we quickly close our eyes. This is another example. Then if any food enters into our windpipe while eating, we cough. So this is also not learned, it is already there in our body. So these type of examples are known as natural or inborn reflexes. Next is the difference between these reflexes. Let's see. Natural reflexes require no previous experience, but conditioned reflex requires experience. They are developed over a period of time. Natural reflex is directly linked to the stimulus, directly linked to the change, but conditioned reflexes are actually learned by us. Therefore, even if there is a change, we may or may not apply the response. So it depends upon the person. Therefore, it is brought about by a condition which is different from the actual stimulus. It depends upon us completely, or it is learned over a period of time. Natural reflex is similar for every human. Everybody will cough if food enters into the windpipe. But in case of conditioned reflex, it depends. Like a person who is not used to schooling, he or she may not stand up when the teacher comes in, right? Or a person who does not know driving, he or she may not show the hand signal while he or she is turning to the right or left. But a person who knows, he or she will show the hand signal. So it varies from person to person. Another example of conditioned reflex is salivation at the sight of a familiar food. If we see the food for the first time, we do not salivate, but if we have eaten it and we know the taste and we know that it is tasty, we start salivating. So this is a conditioned reflex. It is learned over a period of time. We are not born with it. Now let's talk about how the entire response system happens, or what is the reflex arc. So reflex arc is the shortest route that can be taken by an impulse from the receptor to an effector. So I told you, when we touch a hot object, that signal is sent to the brain or to the spinal cord by the sensory neurons. The brain will then send another signal by the motor neurons to the muscles, which is called the effector, and then we will move our hands away. So this entire pathway can be written in the form of a flowchart. So let's see, it is very important. So first of all, we experience the stimulus, we experience the change in our surrounding. Then the receptor will receive that stimulus, or it will identify the stimulus. Then using the sensory neuron, it will be transferred to the brain or the spinal cord. From the brain or the spinal cord, using the motor neuron, that response will be transferred to the effector. The effector can be a muscle, it can be our hand muscle, it can be our leg muscle, or it can be a gland also. Then the effector will show a response, for example moving our hand away. So this entire pathway is known as the reflex arc. As you can see in the diagram below also, the same has been mentioned. So this diagram, the below diagram, is very important. Questions can come based on labeling it.